The Nats are back as pitchers and catchers are reporting to spring training today, and I'm going to get you caught up on all the Nationals headlines that you will need to watch for in spring training.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you can check us out over on YouTube. Just search us up, Locked On Nationals, and hit that subscriber button. A little bit later on in today's program, baseball is in the air here in DC. It just snowed yesterday, but still, pitchers and catchers have reported today. So we're going to be discussing a lot about what to expect from your 2025 Washington Nationals. In the second segment, could Nationals manager Davey Martinez potentially be on the hot seat entering 2025? After back-to-back 71 and 91 seasons, we expect them to take a step up. They have gotten slightly better overall with talent, so that's no longer an excuse. So, how could Davey Martinez potentially save his job in 2025? And should he have to save his job in 2025? We'll have that discussion for you a little bit later on. But we start off discussing the biggest headlines for the Nationals here in spring training. And my number one headline for me personally is this: how will Jarlin Susana perform down in spring training? And now, before we answer that question, this is all about the youth at this point in time. We are still in that kind of rebuild mode. Even though the Nationals do have higher expectations at this point in time, I am still looking at the Nationals youth movement, and I think you should as well. Jarlin Susana got the invite to big league camp, and really that didn't surprise all too many people. But as far as Jarlin Susana goes, he is like the next guy up on the Nationals prospects, really. Like, he is the guy outside of Brady House and outside of Travis Secor that everyone should have their eyes on. And I think if Jarlin Susana really shows a lot early on in Major League Camp or minor league camp, this is going to be an exciting development for a lot of Nationals fans out there. Jarlin Susana was kind of a throw-in piece in that Juan Soto deal, which netted us James Wood, Mackenzie Gore, C.J. Abrams, and amongst other prospects as well. Susana, though, was kind of the guy where the Nationals had to throw in Josh Bell into that deal, and now Susana comes here to DC, and he has really taken off over this past season. He has a fastball that rides up pretty consistently to 100 miles per hour. He's got a nasty breaking ball, and he's also got some other secondary pitches that will be taking a step up, hopefully this season. But he's just one of those guys where at this point in time, he is probably like the next big prospect to take that step up into the major leagues. He went all the way last year from really just not playing well at all down in Fredericksburg to begin 2024, and then got shot up all the way to Wilmington. I expect Jarlin Susana to hopefully start at AA this year. And if he pitches well, which I do expect him to do that, then you'll see him make the trek up to AAA, and then the next stop is Washington Nationals. I think if the Nationals really believed in Jarlin Susana, he would be on this fast track to the major leagues at this point. And he's going to be one of those guys who you will see him in big league camp. You will see him, whether it's coming out of the bullpen in spring training games. You will see him maybe start a game or two down at West Palm Beach. And that is an exciting factor in this, because this is a big time prospect. Again, he is a top 100 prospect in really anywhere that you check. He's 6'6", 235 pounds, and he's still just 20 years old today. Now, he will be 21 years old before the season starts, but it's fun to say that he's still only 20 years old. He's going to be one of those guys when I'm down at West Palm Beach, which I will be sometime in March. I will be watching every move of Jarlin Susana. You don't really see all too often a 6'6", 235 pounder really the size of Paul Skeens, who also throws 101 miles per hour. This could be the next big thing for the Washington Nationals. Susana could be maybe the next ace of your staff down in 2027 or in 2026, just next season. That's the kind of potential that Susana brings here. And even if he's not a starter, this is going to be a hell of a closer. This overall is going to be a very impactful major leaguer, and he's going to be one of those guys where I will be watching every single move that he makes down in spring training. Number 2, you're going to see the kind of the trend here. Could we see Brady House compete for that opening day third base job? This is going to be a big storyline, in my opinion, if Brady House performs early on in spring training. You will see him get plenty of at-bats, as he should, by the way. You're going to see him probably in discussion at some point this spring training. You're probably going to see Masson write about it. You'll see all the different articles out there about Brady House and what he could be moving forward. But I think a headline that you will be seeing and that you will be wanting to watch is if this guy will be your opening day third baseman. Now, if you remember last season, James Wood was Brady House of this year, except James Wood was, again, a lot better and the number 1 prospect in all of baseball for pretty good reason. But I think Brady House at this point, I'm not 100% sold on him being the opening day third baseman at this point. He is still young, and he did not look his best from this past year. Now, maybe he made some swing adjustments. Maybe we're going into the season thinking that Brady House is going to be completely different, which, by the way, that could happen. You could see a lot of adjustments from Brady House. Maybe he's going to look a lot more comfortable out there. But he's going to be the prospect that I think a lot of people will be wanting to watch. Because to say that he has no chance to start on opening day, I think that's a little silly. Brady House could easily go into this season being the opening day third baseman. Now, is that likely? No. Do I think the Nationals think that he's going to need more time down in the minors? Absolutely. But let's say he tears the cover off the baseball in spring training. Then I think he's going to be putting himself in a situation where Davey Martinez and Mike Rizzo will have to think to themselves, is he ready to take this next jump up? And I think a lot of people might say yes to that, if he does perform, though. I think it all comes down to that. And even if he does perform really well, the likelihood of him starting opening day at third base is relatively low. Like, this is not going to be someone where the Nationals are just going to fly up and say, well, he's not hitting the ball down in AAA. Let's see if he can do it up in the bigs. This is not Dylan Cruz, in my opinion, where they kind of knew, even with his struggles down in the minors, that this guy is going to hit up in the major leagues. But Brady House, I think it's another one of those Nationals top prospects where a lot of people would be watching and kind of thinking to themselves, what if he starts on opening day? And this will be an exciting headline to watch. Last but not least, what will happen with the National starting rotation? I think that this might be the biggest headline when it's all said and done. Like, when it's March 15th and roster cuts start to happen and guys start getting sent down to minor league camp, what will happen with the starting rotation? Because we have talked about it all season long. The likelihood of them going with a 6-man rotation on opening day is slim to none at this point. But if you look at it, here are like your locks, in my opinion. It is Mackenzie Gore, Jake Irvin, and then you have Trevor Williams. Those 3 guys are really the only locks. And then really right after that, DJ Hurst, who in my opinion should be a lock to be in this major league rotation. Mitchell Parker, Michael Soroka. You also have the new lefty from Japan who is in this picture as well. There's a lot of different things to be watching for the Nationals at this point. But in my opinion, the starting rotation and what they decide to do will be an interesting one to watch. Because again, Trevor Williams, Mackenzie Gore, Jake Irvin, those 3 are right then and there. They're going to be in this rotation. But they have also said they want to have Michael Soroka as a starter, so that's number 4. And then You have Mitchell Parker and DJ Hers battling out for that fifth job. What do they decide to do? And also, again, the lefty from Japan. We don't know what the Nationals will decide to do. Like, between Mitchell Parker and DJ Hers, one of those guys will be starting the year down in AAA or in the back end of the bullpen at this point. If it were up to me, DJ Hers would be a 100% lock for the Nationals in this rotation. That's what it has to be. He showed a ton of flashes this past season. He showed that he could potentially be a top-end starter for the Nationals. But also Mitchell Parker showed that exact same thing. And while I'm a little lower on Mitchell Parker than what some people are, I still think he's good. I still think he's someone that a lot of Nationals fans can gravitate towards and say, this guy could be something down the road. But the Nationals have a lot of mouths to feed as far as starting pitchers go. And this is going to be the position battle that I think a lot of people will be keeping their eye on. Who will it be down in AAA or in the or in the end of the bullpen? Will it be DJ Hers or will it be Mitchell Parker? Because the Nationals, they know they've got a crowded starting rotation. And by the way, this is a great problem to have. But even down the road, you have Josiah Gray, who you'd think the Nationals will be a starter. And you also have Cade Cavalli, a former top 100 prospect, a former first-round pick back in 2020. The Nationals are high on him as well. Do they think that he is going to be a starter again? And you also have another lower-end prospect, Tyler Stewart, who will be in this discussion as well. I saw someone write about him the other way, and they're expecting him to have a huge spring training for this team. There are a lot of question marks surrounding the Nationals starting rotation. And in my opinion, while we just listed it as third, that is the headline to watch here in spring training. And moving forward, I hope it's DJ Hers. That's just all I'll say. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Next, let's talk about Davey Martinez. Could the Nationals skipper, World Series champion, Davey Martinez, be on the hot seat entering 2025? Well, I can tell you this. He is on the hot seat. But should he be? And should he be managing for his job in the year of 2025? It's a difficult question. We'll discuss that after we tell you about some of our new friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. And are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I love No Shells variety. It's the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost. They're always my go-to, and if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. And you can get snacking and get cracking with the snacks that packs the protein punch, and visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Again, you have to visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Later on, let's talk about the Nationals going to spring training here, because today it's all about the Nationals going to spring training. They have reported to West Palm Beach right here and right now. So, could Davey Martinez be on the hot seat entering 2025? I've got two answers. Number one, my own, which I don't think that he should be on the hot seat. Now, the real answer, I think Davey Martinez will be on the hot seat entering 2025. And even then, for my personal answer, there's a little bit of a caveat there. We have been 71 and 91 each of the last 2 seasons. Also, with that said, back in 2023, the Nationals were coming off being the worst team in all of baseball in that season. And then this past year, the Nationals are coming off a season which they gutted the veterans, they traded them all away, and they've been doing that over these past few seasons. My thing with Davey Martinez is this. People love to complain about the pitching decisions that he has made, which you are absolutely right. Like, it has not been great. It has not been up to par, in my opinion, for Major League Baseball. But the pitching decisions that have been at question are scenarios like this, where, and by the way, they should be upset. Like back when Josiah Gray was first coming up and kind of breaking out onto the scene, he'd have 5 really good innings pitched, and then all of a sudden, the third time through that rotation, they would say, you're going to be coming out. And it's like he'd have like 8 strikeouts and 2 walks and giving up only like 2 hits and only has 1 earned runs through those 5 innings. Everyone's like, why are you going to the bullpen? Which, by the way, the bullpen blew at that point in time. Why would you make that decision? Those are the decisions that really frustrate me. But other than that, the pitching decisions that Davey Martinez has had to make over the years, I think people give him way too hard of a time for it. Like, for instance, let's just grab a random game from last year. DJ Hers gets pulled from a start after 6 innings pitched and has struck out 13 batters against the Marlins. And then you go to someone like a Robert Garcia, or you go to a Derek Law. The key to it is this. When Davey Martinez pulls a starting pitcher or makes a bullpen decision, what kind of talent have the Nationals had? Like, people complain, like, you just pulled DJ Hers and put in Robert Garcia with bases loaded. What are you doing? Why didn't you have DJ Hers finish this? Why wouldn't you go to this player? Guys, the talent level that Davey Martinez has had to manage over these past few seasons is so low. Davey does not control the talent level at the major league level. He is the decision maker, in which you can question some of his decisions. That's not wrong. I have questioned them as well. But when it is all said and done, when you give Davey Martinez a competitive roster that is not injured, that does not have COVID surrounding this entire locker room, what has he done? Won a World Series. And I know you might be saying, let go of that. Let it go. But each of his past few seasons here, we all knew the Nationals were not going to compete. And even then, in 2021, even with the Nationals battling a COVID outbreak in the middle of the season, having Kyle Schwarber sign with the Nationals and breaking out and hitting like 30 bombs in 30 days, whichever it was an insane stretch that he had here. That was not a very talented team. And the decisions that were being made that season weren't all too great, but they also weren't hindering this organization. What hindered that organization in 2021 was COVID, and was, in my opinion, against the San Diego Padres that year, where Max Scherzer completely blew up, and that was the end of the Nationals as we knew. Some people forget, in 2021, the Nationals, if they were healthy and if they did not have a COVID outbreak, and if Josh Bell played up to par that we thought he would be, we could be talking about a postseason team that year. You could be talking about Trey Turner being a National throughout 2021, and as well as Max Scherzer in that equation as well. He has had no talent since. In 2022, they had Juan Soto, and then they traded him away. In 2023, they had nobody. This past year, they had nobody. He has had no talent to manage with. And I think you guys are not you guys, myself included, everyone out there, we are just looking for someone to blame for the bad seasons here. And I think that he is a part of that blame pie, but I think he is a much smaller piece than what you think here. He is a fine manager. He is not the best manager in all of baseball. He's not even a top 5 manager. I understand that. But I do believe he is a top 10 manager. And I think that if you give him the talent to succeed, or at least give him the chance to have that opportunity here, then Davey Martinez will be a solid to pretty good manager here in DC. I just think people kind of get lost in what has happened over these past few seasons. This is a good to solid manager. He is not the best, but he's also not the worst that a lot of people think. The decision makers up there with the Nationals, I think those are the ones that you should really be looking at and blaming for, number one, not spending in free agency, Lerner family, and number two, not having these prospects maybe roll out in the best way and not developing in the best way possible. Now, with all that said, I do think we are in the up as far as prospects go and people getting into this building with a lot more talent. But Davey Martinez, he's probably going to be on the hot seat this year. But in my opinion, I don't think he should be. I think he should be given another chance with a finally loaded team once again, with a star in free agency, with prospects coming up and helping this team win. And if he can't win with that, then it's time to move on. But I'm not ready to move on at this point in time. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Next, the Nationals have reported to spring training. Let's discuss it after this. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And everybody, the Nationals pitchers and catchers have reported to spring training as we are here today, not in West Palm Beach, but guys, people are there in spring training. You have pitchers and catchers reporting live from spring training today. Now, we have not seen any social media interactions from pitchers showing up or catchers showing up at this point, but I would certainly expect to see something from the Washington Nationals, like whether it is Cade Cavalli thrown in the back of the bullpen or whether it's Keibert Ruiz stretching on the sides. Who knows at this point? But I do think the Nationals should be in this camp where you have people at West Palm Beach. Let's start talking about it. Baseball is here. And yes, I do know that you've got a ton of snow on the ground here back home in DC. But people are excited about the Nationals here in spring training. And I think really everybody in this scenario should be excited for what's to come in 2025. We are about to embark on a massive 2025 season where some people out there think the Nationals could compete for a potential wild card spot. And we'll see what the Nationals ultimately do. But it's going to be another fun season of Nationals baseball. I'm going to be all in on these Nationals as we move forward here. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.